What is up, guys? Evanaldo here. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well. What's up, Johnny M? What's up, Master Eric? Appreciate you guys. So, yeah, I mean, I'll show you guys one. Where is it? One trade I'm in right now. This is actually in the red right now. Over on BYDFI. There's some good deposit bonuses for BYDFI and BloFin if you guys are interested. Pin chat for BloFin. They just did a new one. I'll show that right now. Actually, I just wanted to. It is pretty good. It is a deposit 7K, get 1,000. It's been a pretty good return. They've always done pretty well here. 20% cash back on your fees for life if you sign up with my link down below. So check that out. BYDFI good as well with similar kind of deposit bonuses. Pick your poison. I think it's slightly better on BloFin right now, but yeah. Anyway, so here's kind of the BYDFI trade. What I'm looking at right now is a little bit of a, I guess, a freebie. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be embarrassed if this just breaks downward. I think it is a little premature to enter this kind of long, right here. But I do think it may play out, especially on the hourly 200, which could be somewhat of a significant area. Now we could see I don't know, from here to here, that pocket, if you come down to 89, that could be a little retrace. I don't think you're going to crash all the way down to 85. Not just yet, at least. Not yet. I think you will go higher. You're seeing a little pocket there as well. So this could be kind of a scalp along or something of that nature, kind of like this setup I showed you off of that hourly 200. That these 200 SMAs on almost every time frame are relatively useful, in my opinion. Now, daily, coming up there, the 2-day 200 SMA is at around 100. I think we'll at least get up to 100. Maybe somewhere between 100 to 108. And then obviously, if you can hold that, that would be very momentous, and you could we could talk about super cycles and all that type of stuff. But until that happens, I would lean more on the kind of bearish side. I mean, obviously, traditional markets are pretty what's the word, overheated. Yeah, extremely overheated, I would say. Obviously, crypto is a little bit underheated, but you look at kind of the pattern, first crypto starts lagging, then the NASDAQ starts lagging. What's next to come down, it probably the S&P 500. A lot of these cryptos are hitting big points. I don't think it's over. I think we got a little bit more until the next FOMC meeting, but keep that in mind. Powell's probably going to knock us down just like he did in January of 2025. Look at these poly market odds. End of April, no change is 60%. So you're probably not going to see any more cuts under a Powell term, and I don't see how that could be. I think in terms of QE starting and all that, that could be good for alts on their Bitcoin pairs, such as XRP, such as others to keep going up. But that don't mean they're going to go up on their USD pairs that quickly. That's what we got to kind of keep in mind. We got to kind of keep in mind that here. So yeah, I mean, SWE, a lot of these are going up. I think we could go up a little bit more. Just keep in mind, if I had to guess, I think the thing from wherever you do, kind of peak out, I think you'll see a 50% drop down, which is not too bad on this one. For example, low ones, XRP. Let's say you can get up to that. I think daily 200 moving average is a good bet on most things, or at least around there. Let's say you get up to 256. Where's 50% down? Low ones. And where would that equate to? That would be around your, maybe your 200 SMA there. Let's see if you go up to there. And then by the time you hit it, that's 130. Yeah. May, June, July, those areas, kind of your early summer is when I would kind of, guess, speculate that you could kind of, get those. And how about this background, guys? Pretty good background. Hope you guys enjoyed the background. No green screen, completely real. Put a nice shirt for this anyway. But DXY2, man, I would guess that you're probably going to go up some. And I think that, I think the bond market is going to be sideways to bearish a little bit. If you look at, I don't know, Euro, for example, against USD, I think that's going to kind of, start to come down more. Euro against USD, it had its jump in June, a little bit more in September, kind of sideways there. I think it could be time to come down, assuming, especially with the US with the world reserve currency, and assuming the S&P 500 comes down. So I would think there would be a little bit more money put into the USD rather than the Euro. S&P 500, I think, did make fresh new all-time highs today. Yeah, this is the big point I'm looking at, 696, not 67. but we'll get to 6-7, you know, at some point, 6-7. But yeah, appreciate you, Johnny. It is a good background. I'll tell you that much. It is a good background. You know, you don't always get these type of setups, you know, wherever you go, but you gotta know what you're doing and all that. So yeah, Mexican peso. Yeah, I know why you're asking about that. I'm in the same place though, bro. The background is I moved over. There's like a desk. I just moved over. I moved things over. Found it better to do it like this. So yeah, I think you all can agree it's a better background. 6-7, yeah. Always appreciate the 6-7s to 6-7 friendly chat. Let's look at the peso against the dollar. That's a good question. I would some of these foreign currencies, yeah, have come up against the dollar. Obviously, the pandemic, and then you not at the highs you were in 2014, but it has it has come up in the last few years. I mean, this is kind of like an arbitrage for traveling, whatever. Well, I mean, it's down against the USD, but whatever's down a bit. Mexico is definitely more expensive than it used to be, but that's everywhere in the world pretty much. Mexican peso, I think I would guess, if the S&P 500 comes down, this will come down a bit. Kind of boring. I'm curious about, let's look at the Colombian peso. I mean, that's been coming up a little bit since 2022, since kind of your stock market bottom in 2022. I would guess it would reject here and come back down a little. I don't know. It doesn't look too bad though. It's hard to say with some of these, So yeah, so that was that one. And I don't know, where's some other pop there? I mean, you could go to Canada. I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at this one too much. It generally kind of bleeds, right? Maybe jump up a little bit, then come down. Hard to say. I would think if the S&P 500 comes down, a lot of these foreign currencies would come down as well, because that's typically what happens. But yeah, but bear div on the monthly, we'll lean on the side of caution here. I mean, we'll lean more on the side of caution, especially NASDAQ as well, because that's been starting to lag behind, the S&P 500 a little bit. Berkshire Hathaway versus SPY, now that it's coming up, this is going down a little bit, but I'm curious if you're going to be able to, blow out those lows of October. Probably not. I think this is going to turn around against the S&P 500, come by the, around the next FOMC meeting. Same thing versus the NASDAQ, which is interesting. Now this versus silver is interesting because obviously silver went parabolic. Now you're seeing kind of, I guess an attempt at a double bottom here. So you may get some relief, or at least some, some sidewaysness consolidation, against metals. I mean, against silver during this decade, let's see, down 86%. So far, you've been down 66, and I think you're going to get maybe some type of situation like this before you get another, over the next few years, and then you get another drop when we do see kind of recession. And the same could be probably obviously compared to the S&P 500 here. As well, S&P 500 versus silver too. So to answer, Johnny, yeah, good question. How do I see gold and silver? I think they're kind of due for consolidation. I think that Powell is going to do everything he can to knock them down. I think this is probably a good place to take profits. But I do think that over the next probably 8 to 10 years, let's say, gold and silver will not bleed, or probably will overall still outperform the S&P 500 for the next 3 or 4 years. Probably more sideways consolidation against the S&P 500, so you may be better in the S&P 500 because you get obviously dividends and all that, compound interest. You don't get that with gold and silver, although Celsius tried to do that and that didn't work too well. So I don't know. What do you think, Marco? What's up, Marco? Appreciate you, man. Been a second. What do you think? Do you think that silver has topped? I think that you're very close to it, yeah, for the year. And I think you'll see a 20-30% pullback. And I think that, the thing too is, like, I think that when gold comes back to, I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to make any, 3,200, if it comes back here, this is a good freaking buy for Bitcoin, I'll tell you that much. And gold could be volatile, so, I think it will see some type of pullback here. Currently above the daily 200, I would say that would maybe equate, well, it's going to take longer. I'm trying to think like which one we want to, one of these it'll probably hit at some point this year. So yeah, I mean, would I buy gold and silver right now? No. Would I buy it on a 20 or 30% pullback, in the summer? Probably. But I do think Powell is going to do everything he can to keep these, get these to go down. So yeah. Metals money, well, No, because if people sell, I mean, I think that money that would have been put into gold and silver in 6 months will probably get put into alts, yeah. But the other thing money may come into is a lot of these like energy stocks, because when people get bored with gold and silver, and I feel like your person who buys gold and silver is not the type of person that buys altcoins, not always overall, I would say that. So I do think that, I do think stuff like Occidental Petroleum, this is one that Buffett owns. I do think some of these energy ones could come up. Maybe Exxon, I don't know. Let's look at, I haven't looked at this in a while. Yeah, some of these energy ones, when people get bored with certain commodities, they'll move on to other commodities. So I think Exxon may be breaking upward. It's taken its sweet time here, but you may have, a jump up to, let's see, 143 potentially. Some of these can do well. And I would think Powell's going to sound hawkish too. So, yeah, gold-silver ratio. Yeah, we could look at that. I mean, that one's kind of tough to say, I feel like. Silver's obviously been jumping against it. Let's take a look on that monthly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it generally, you look at this and, yeah, I mean, silver so it's generally bled against gold for a while. So I would be careful. During these decades, kind of choppy. So I don't know. I mean, I would say if you're looking at metals, what I would do is like 70 or 80% gold, maybe 20% silver makes sense. I wouldn't, I think silver is going to lag, start to lag a little bit or not do as well as it's done. I mean, it's kind of, those parabolic things don't happen too often. So yeah. Let's see, gold, silver there. And if we look at others here, let's take a look, see at others. I mean, I think that altcoins generally, it'll probably come back. I mean, if we compare it to, let's go do some comparisons. Go on our 2 week here for just others. So obviously our first bottom was December. And then the thing too is freaking like a lot of, the problem with this is like so many people bought alts here, and you're probably not ahead that much. You're ahead less than it would seem. I mean, because a lot of stuff made lower lows. So it's like picking the right alts. So be careful, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, if you bought alts back here, that would have been better. That's going back 6 years now. If we look at kind of, this area, this was the, kind of 2019, and this is what happened the last time the Fed ended QT. Let's not count pandemic, but I don't know. Maybe they come back down. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I would be careful. Nah, I think he's gonna sound more hawkish. They're not gonna cut rates. It doesn't matter. Well, the thing is, like, everyone's been talking about for years, rates are going back down, mortgage rates are going back down to 3%, 4%. Like, you need asset prices to drop for that to happen significantly, like housing prices, S&P 500. And I'm talking about like recessionary drops, like 40 to 50% down. For S&P 500, let's say. Obviously, real estate probably won't drop anywhere close to that, but and that's probably not going to happen until you get a recession. So, and I do think if we compare the last time that they paused for a few months, and odds are Powell's not going to cut anytime soon. I mean, I guess people try to, we could discuss these predictions. Maybe they'll cut. I don't know, but I don't think they will. And I think people have been just waiting too long for really low interest rates. That's probably not going to happen again until the early 2030s. That's your 18 to 20 year real estate cycle, you know what I mean, for those interest rates and all that. It's going to take time, unfortunately. I think everybody wants, a crazy run up, a crazy party, let's all get rich. But I mean, it just looks overheated right now, especially you kind of have the AI bubble, I think. I mean, it's going to probably come down a bit. Not that bad, but not bad enough to get interest rates down as much as we would like them. But, 10 to 15% for the S&P 500, this could come down a lot. Some of these could come down a hell of a lot, I think. This looks atrocious, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe it'll go up forever. Altcoins are worthless. Well, altcoins, I mean, some of them are worthless and some of them, it depends on what altcoin, but it's just like what stock. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be ones that are worthless. There's always going to be ones that are way undervalued. I mean, sometimes it's hard to say, So yeah. 70K is not, like, I mean, I would like between 40 to 60K, you know, but 70K is not, what is that, the 200 weekly? 57, yeah. I'm looking for your 200 weekly. I mean, 70K is better, but, you know, that weekly too is going to go all in the grays here, probably in 4 days from now, the next candle to print. So yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah. But I do think a lot of like your XRPs, your chain links potentially. Chainlink could be one. Could continue to outperform Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. But yeah, Baca, we are in a downtrend. Yeah. Always appreciate you guys smashing the like button. Check out the pinned chat if you guys want to trade on BloFin. There's a really good promo going on. Let me just show you that one. You deposit 7K, get 1,000. That's really good. Ends in 7 days. Worked hard to get that for you. Not really, but you get it. It still is a pretty good promo that doesn't come around too often. But yeah, check it out if you're interested. Make sure if you deposit at least under 50 bucks, open support to get in Discord with your UID or your email, and we'll get you sorted for a free month there. But yeah, let's see. Uranium has a nice move. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a big, you know, I'm not like the biggest, you know, follower of these, but yeah, I mean, it's still, I think it will come down with gold and silver. Maybe, yeah, you get more of a jump up, and then it kind of comes down with everything else. Look, I mean, metals, I think will be kind of sideways against this SPY for a few years, and then you'll get a jump up when we get the next kind of recession. So let's take a look at gold versus, you know, SPX, and I think that, yeah, I think I drew it out here. You know, I think that you're going to get until kind of your next recession somewhere in 2029, 2030, then you jump up and get a really nice jump here. So, I mean, it's interesting to look at. Obviously, in the macro, you're still down, you know, a lot against the S&P 500 on gold, but over the last 25 years, pretty good. So I do think, you know, you're kind of in a situation like here or like here, late 60s, and you get a jump up, not as crazy as this, but, you know, something like that, another jump up. But I think it's going to be sideways for a few years. I think gold is a good thing to have in a portfolio. I mean, I know a lot of people are just too degenerate on it, and you know, they don't see it as volatile enough. And yeah, right now, you know, right now that is the case. Right now that is the case, I think. So, you know, I wouldn't buy gold and silver right now. I mean, I would buy kind of safer stuff. I mean, in kind of my opinion, you know, just because I think that, you know, I think the market's overheated. I think it will. You know, kind of will come down for whatever reason. I think a lack of more cuts will, you know, be something of that nature. 60% chance of no cuts, you know, till April 29th, and then a new guy comes in, and then what he's going to do gets factored into price very quickly. So I don't know if I would really count on the Fed helping us out too much, at least not this year. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, you could bet on literally everything here. 50% chance. Okay, so people are thinking down actually, and I would kind of agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Oh, that's January 7th. Yeah, I wanted to like what is it? I wanted to look. Is there like something we could bet on for the month for the? Ooh, what will? Okay, this is interesting. End of. Let's look at end of June. Let's look at end of June. That's interesting. I would think, well, I mean, what's it at now? 6.9. So yeah, you're looking at down. According to that kind of, well, that's hard to 6.9, and then yeah. This is just so indecisive, nobody knows. But I would think, oh, let's look at December. Okay. So people are thinking up. Interesting. That is, yeah, 74. Maybe it will. But here you go. I mean, you still have very high. You have 50. I mean, nobody's even betting on that. That's interesting how no one's even betting on this. But let's just look at how much would you make if, okay, it's kind of a 50-50. But yeah. Well, this is kind of a stupid bet because you could just bet like this and still win, you know. 50-50 for everything. Not enough money coming into. Interesting. let's see. Oh, that's interesting too, how you could bet on that. There's so much. Yeah, let's see here. S&P 500. I would bet on maybe the S&P 500. Because how much would you win there? That's a good bet. Yeah, if it can the S&P 500 beat gold in 20? It probably could for this 2026, maybe, or kind of side. That's tougher to say. If you want to bet that Bitcoin bleeds, that would probably be, let's see here, that would probably be the favorite, but that's probably a good bet. If you want to bet that Bitcoin bleeds, you know, make a little bit, yeah. But yeah, let's see, right, let's move up. ICM became more mainstream, gold, silver, I'll check out Mert on Twitter, yeah. RSP, I don't know what that is. Is that a crypto? I'm not sure what that is, man. Oh. Oh, yeah, in equal weight, okay. I have not actually, it's like one of the few things I've never really looked at too much. I mean, obviously, I think that it looks bearish in my opinion. I think you're going to come down a bit, but that 3 week though is a pretty good. I'm curious if you were to, there's a 33% drop down. That was pandemic. That was 15. Let's look at this in terms of, you know, versus SPY, obviously. And I would think that, yeah, it probably generally bleeds. When does it outperform the, yeah, outperforms the SPY probably when the markets crash, if that. That's a good, okay. This would be, I would argue that this is probably, that's interesting. There's not really that much of a rhyme or reason with this, but it should come up a little bit. I don't know if that would be bearish for all the markets. I don't know. I don't know, Versailles Q, triple Q, yeah, it just keeps bleeding. But right here, that was 22, was pretty good. Yeah, so it may see a jump, especially if markets come down. That's a good question, Marco. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that it'll come up a bit? Like, the other thing too is the VIX probably would tell you that we're going to come down as well, because the VIX has, you know, come down to these points. There's just not that much volatility. So, yeah. People have talked about, I mean, I'm trying to think. Amazon was, I think Scott Galloway said that was his pick for 2026. I would guess if you follow generally what a lot of other things will do, maybe something like a 20 to 30% drop down, maybe. Those peaks are pretty big. 188 would be not a bad deal for Amazon. I want to look at Google as well, obviously. Berkshire owns Google now, but that's, I mean, I wouldn't buy it at the frickin' resistance here. I mean, that's what I will say. I do think that, you know, I mean, you got the peaks there. I don't think it'll come down that much, but 20% maybe, you know, would be interesting. Yeah, it'd probably come down. This is a powerhouse, yeah. $4 trillion market cap. But yeah, definitely have to see. Yeah, it's Google right there. I'm trying to think what else I want to. Apple's interesting. I do think that's going to come down, especially on its S&P 500 pair. People have talked about, yeah, it dropped down. I wanted to look at this actually on its triple Q pair, down since October 22. So, yeah, Apple just doesn't. I don't think it's got the oomph. You know what I mean? The oomph that it used to have, that monthly not looking too good. It's just not powerful against anything anymore. I think it's kind of just a boomer stock that's just going to continue to kind of, bleed against the S&P 500. So yeah, keep that in mind. You could see a crash in the market now, maybe in March, but I don't believe that will be the beginning of the bear market as long as they keep printing hard. Yeah, I mean, they're not printing hard, are they? I mean, it's kind of, they're not going to be even cutting rates most likely. I don't see how we're really thinking printing hard, you know. I do think you will come into some type of bear market. I mean, let's just look at SPY a little bit here, and you know, I'm trying to find the first. Yeah, I mean, it's always bright generally on these EMAs, but once these go, gray, then you're looking at, something, a changing kind of trend, you know what I mean? You're up to 404 here. Probably a lot of people may have gotten back in, then he went down again, then he came back. Just curious about that. Compare, yes, 12%. I mean, usually if you get in like 12 or 10 to 15% down, that's a pretty good deal for the S&P 500, assuming you don't go into a full major blown, hardcore recession. March 2019 there. I mean, just look at these weeklies when they go into the brights are always freaking, I mean, it's kind of the most foolproof, like, they're always good places to get in, right there, and they're pretty much always good places to sell. That's a good technique that I found out a long time ago. Every time this goes into bright, buy. Every time it goes into gray, sell, which doesn't happen very often. I mean, the last time it's gone into the gray was 2022. Obviously here, I mean, you probably would have gotten back in at the same price you got out, but, nice jump up from there. I'm just curious, like, yeah, 62%, not half bad. Same thing could be said, kind of right here, that was pandemic. You would have sold the freaking bottom there, though, so I don't know. I mean, it depends. I guess if you're already down so much, why bother? Here's kind of that one. But if we look at, like, previous risk, that was 08. Yeah, pretty good place to get in right there. In 09. Here was much, I mean, this was just, you sit on gold for a while, you know what I mean? Because gold outperformed all the way until like 2011. That was your lost decade right there. I mean, if you got in here, not bad, not bad at all, 60%, and then could have got out, hopefully, who knows? A long time ago though. And you could kind of test that, back test that back a lot, but the thing is you have to wait a while because, when's the next time this is going to happen? I mean, I would guess, I don't think it's probably, like, let's just map this out a little bit. That wouldn't be enough. If you went down to 600, that would not be enough. And let's say end of decade, end of decade, you're up to like 7, or actually 9. Let's say you're 9, 8 to 9, 8, 9, 6, 7, no, 8, 9. And then from there, you'd probably get it in 28 or 29. Then you get the grays, and you'd probably, my opinion would be, where's the 20? Yeah, something like that. And there's your 40 to 50% recession correction. And then there, I would think mid 2030s would be, well, yeah, probably mid 2030s, 2032 to 2035 would be where the S&P 500 starts to really outperform gold and everything again. We'll see. We'll definitely have to see, Bitcoin in that equation and all that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Sell may walk away. Trump impeachment. Well, let's look at, yeah, it's a good question, Skynight. Good bet on literally everything. 12%. He's not going to get impeached this year. I don't think they're going to even impeach him. They know he's gone in a few years. Unless he really, irritates them, I guess you could argue. Well, I mean, it can't happen. The Republicans still got the House. It can't happen, this year. Next year it could happen, but I don't even think. Because they know he's going to be gone. You know what I mean? They know he's gone. And I mean, there's people who say, yeah, there's people who always say, stuff like he's going to, stay in. But I mean, put your money where your mouth is. I mean, it's not, 2028 presidential election winner. It's not, I mean, he's got 3%. I mean, you'd make a lot. Let's see how much. Actually, it's not as much as I thought, but 10,000, okay. 10,000 to 200, that's pretty, it's 20x. It's not going to happen. I don't see how it could. It's going to be one of these two. Probably Vance. I mean, that's probably the bet I would make, but who knows? It could be somebody else, I guess. That's a 3 to 1. I mean, if you put in just, these markets aren't the, well, no, okay, that's where it gets. If you put 100 grand in, you can make something. But the thing is, yeah, put 100 grand in. I mean, it's kind of a risky bet. You got to wait a couple of years, but it's like 100 grand. If it's 2 years, 100 grand return, yeah, each year. So 3x over that amount of time, pretty good. Assuming poly market still, still is strong, still exists. So yeah. I don't think when Powell leaves the Fed, I think it gets factored in pretty quickly. I think you could be kind of bearish for a couple more months after he leaves and then kind of end of year. I would say the latest you would see a Bitcoin bottom would be October. So that could be the potential. I just don't think it's going to be that great of a year for the stock market and all this. Hopefully I'm wrong. You know, you could bet on this. I mean, I guess okay. If you worked on this show, you would know. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I don't know if there's really too much else to talk about. Let me just talk about the short term a little bit, and then I'm gonna get going. Got to hit the gym and all that. I was just on Paul Barron's podcast. They're probably gonna post it later today or tomorrow or something. The XRP pod. But yeah, I'm looking at the hourly here. The hour, yeah, that is a potential jump. Maybe a scalp long we could try. Let me actually look at. Maybe I'll add to this. I'm not gonna at the moment, but maybe I'll kind of add to this and make it into the kind of scalp long. Maybe a little bit risky, but I do like the hourly 200 moving average, especially with the snake eyes. That could be a pretty good. This hourly is a good trading thing. So yeah, that's a short term. And then I think that over the next couple weeks, you know, you're going to get up to that daily 200 moving average, wherever that may be, you know, maybe 102, 103. So that's what I'm looking at. Anyway, guys, if you're interested in making some of these trades, including this one, check out the promo for BloFin. 1 week going on, really good futures bonus. Check it out, only with my link down below, 20% for fees for life in addition to that. So check it out if you guys are interested. I'll see you guys really soon. Goodbye.